Look who's here now, sitting right next to me, no less. Charles Payne, the man. Why no red wave?
Maybe there was never going to be a red wave.
I thought there was. Lauren thought there was. Everybody else thought there was, but not you.
Well, there were a few times when I heard the media, particularly the liberal media, talk about it, and it reminded me of a jobs report earlier this year, when the jobs report was supposed to be extremely negative, and it came out just a little better than expected. I felt like, to a degree, we were being set up. I was hopeful. I think there was a lot of hopefulness out there, but, for instance, Pennsylvania. Oz just never, he never got over his start. He started out so poorly. The house in New Jersey, I don't know if he called some fruit some exotic name that no one ever heard. But
crudité platter.
Crudité platter, there you go, yeah.
Right, so right. Like, someone in Pennsylvania is going to vote for that, right? But he did run a good campaign after that. He learned on the job, but it was, again, too little, too late.
Wait a second. He got a firm endorsement of Donald Trump. That may have hurt him. The Republican Party, on this day, may have a Trump problem. What do you say?
In some places, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they have a Trump problem. Some of the Trump people, listen, J.D. Vance had Trump. Right. Bud had Trump. A lot of people had Trump. I think it was more the candidate himself. I really think it was just sort of Oz came in as a very wealthy interloper into a blue-collar kind of state, and I don't think he was able to overcome it in time.
Lauren's here. She wants to press you.
Going beyond Pennsylvania, poll after poll, no matter who the source was, we're dissatisfied with the state of the economy and the country. Why didn't that show up in a bigger way yesterday when we went to vote? There's a huge disconnect between how we feel and how we're voting.
Well, people, was one thing to say, listen, I don't like the way the economy is going, but I still think most people are working.
Okay, the job market.
And so inflation is killing us, but we are working. And I think that made a big difference for a lot of people. But maybe it could be turned around. I do have a job. First and foremost, do I have a job? Check. Now, if you don't have a job and there's runaway inflation, that's two X's instead of one check at the top of the list. So I think that kind of mitigated, in some places, the inflation thing.
Tell me about the market. It looks like we're going to have gridlock. It looks like, and we're not ready to confirm this yet, but it looks like the House will go to the Republicans. That's gridlock. Does it help the market?
It does help the market, I think, ultimately, because I'm hoping that we can get some sort of blocks on any more draconian measures against crude oil. If you stop this anti-oil, agenda, maybe that helps the inflation issue, which means it helps the Fed back off a little bit. So it's a little bit connecting the dots there. And let me tell you who I think. Obviously, there was one clear winner last night in my mind and one clear loser. Obviously, the clear winner was DeSantis.
Yes.
The clear loser was Disney and woke politics. Think about that for a moment. Think about how much DeSantis won by yesterday and how much Disney stock is down by today. I think that is the ultimate message here, that everyone in government, but particularly Republicans, should be looking at, because on a statewide level, they won Miami. They won in places where Republicans never even dreamed about winning. And I think that played a big role.
If it's DeSantis versus Trump for leadership of the Republican Party, who you got, Charles?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to ask everybody, who you got?
I hate to see it come down to that. I really do.
That's not an answer.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to give you another non-answer there. I'm a registered independent, but I'm going to give you my thoughts. I really believe that this is DeSantis' party right now.
Yes.
And I really believe that Trump can play a great role if he would play a great role and not try to mess things up.
Dream on, Charles.
Yeah, I know.
But I do want to tell everyone that you're going to be speaking with small business owners, I think, this afternoon, about labor challenges.
Small business owners, we got some young folks in here, just sort of a post-election focus group. And, the struggles that you guys are talking about here are real. They didn't necessarily manifest in the election, but they are manifesting. And by the way, they're going to get worse. So we want to hear from people, because there's a lot of anxiety still in this country.
Ask them about Trump for me, would you? Just want to see how they feel. I just want to see how they feel. Charles, you're all right.
We'll do a poll.
Thanks. Yeah, please. Thanks very much indeed. All right.